wonderful time of the year, folks. We are almost to the holidays where the vast majority of us are getting our presents and doing all the things with the family and whatnot. And then it moves to the worst time of the year for retail directly after Christmas, December 26th, where everyone starts returning all of their gifts that they didn't want or didn't appreciate or whatever that happens to be. And for retail, again, there's two days that are really, really difficult for retail. You're gonna have Black Friday, and then it's the day after Christmas when all the returns start happening, and we're almost there, folks. I'm recording this on the 22nd, and you know, there's fees associated with return, which I think a lot of folks aren't really prepared for, and the fees have not only grown as far as I say spread, they've gotten larger and more intrusive depending on how you do it. We're going to cover a lot of that today, as well as like, hey, here's where the current fees are at for the stores that you may be returning to. Here's how they're spreading, and here's how maybe to avoid some of the fees. But first, we're going to take a look at just a quick little overview, kind of what the holiday season looks like right now, real quick, and then we'll get into the fees and the structures that they have there. Again, for those that don't know, my name is Ryan Howe. I'm a business coach that works out of West Michigan around the country. And I come here live sharing information I share with my clients, and I hope to earn your subscription. This is something I was actually talking about with one of my retail clients last week, and again, how they manage their returns, how do they go about doing all this stuff. And for the first time, I'm going to be looking at adding a fee for returns, and it's to cover the cost of, getting the product back up on the shelf or getting it out the door or whatever they have to do with it, depending on the quality and condition that it's in, right? So there's going to be a fee associated with this, and that is what it is. But let's take a look at what we're seeing right now in the holiday, as far as what this holiday is looking like, as far as from the economy and spending. So final weekend of Christmas shopping blitz, as polls say Americans think they'll spend less this year. Yes, by the way, links to the description to all these articles are going to be in the description. Be sure to go check them out. And I also have a infographic that's going to really help show and break down where the fees are at, kind of give you a very clear visual of what the fee structures are looking like. Now, out of Cincinnati here, holiday shopping rush is in full force. Shopping malls and stores around the greater Cincinnati area are buzzing. Again, there's a lot of people out. I was out this weekend with the wife, and it was the capitalism, consumerism holiday was in full force. People were out shopping and they were enjoying themselves. But it weren't as many as I thought. There was a lot of folks, but it wasn't as packed as I expected. All right, and this is a lot of what people are seeing. With 5 days until Christmas, shoppers are out to check their list twice. But aunt and niece Susan Coakley Hamblin and Maddie Clymer from White Oak saw $300 purses in Hyde Park and changed their plans. Bail, they laughed. Let's go to Gap. Abort. And one of the things that I'm seeing here is we have folks that there's a percentage of people who are spending more, spending the same, or spending less. And it's always interesting to see what that mix looks like this year. Now, according to NBC News poll, 55% of American adults say they'll spend less on holiday gifts this year. And they got right here, definitely scaling back. And again, Katie Croman here says she's keeping her spending about the same. I try to keep it even. She's got 4 kids. So one of the things that we're seeing consistently right now is that the spending has really been kind of staying the same. The thing to keep in mind, though, with inflation, the number of gifts are going to be going down. And that's something just to keep in mind here as we continue on here, folks. So let's go. All right. Sorry. Wrong one there. I also have a Twitch stream, so I got to make sure I'm hitting the right button. We're flipping back and forth here. So this is from Consumer Affairs. I just want to talk here about 2025 Holiday Returns Playbook. Here's what new and how to protect the refund. So free refunds aren't always free anymore. Lots of retailers now deduct mail-in return fees. So your best move is to be in store for returns. So keep that in mind here. If you are not trying to pay a fee, right, for that return, and your best bet's to be in person. If you're going online, you're going to be paying a restocking fee. That's something that they're putting on here. Additionally, fraud detection is getting smarter. And this is one of the reasons why you're seeing these fees are being added to returns. The increase, the amount of what we have as far as fraud going on with the returns, while not huge, it is, I would say it's not a huge amount of the return business. It's enough to where businesses now have to invest in people and or again, as they always say, we got AI and the camera systems to evaluate whether or not fraud is occurring. Okay. So and that's where a lot of these fees are coming because it's costing more. It's a cost to doing business. Now, again, we talk oftentimes how you return. Now we've got a list of the different prices that are out here, Macy's, JCPenney's, et cetera, $9, $8. I've got some that are upwards of $45, which we're going to look at here in a second. Once you see that, you're gonna be like, wow, that's amazing. But one of the things here is return in store. It's almost always allowed, and typically it's free. What they're having here, it all depends on where you're going. Again, you're going to use other ways that you can again get to a free option. Use the retailer's label free, box free drop off option if available, and then if retailer offers multiple methods at checkout, be sure to choose the one that won't cost you part of your refund as well. So just try to keep those in mind. Now, the one thing you do is if you bought something early and it's wrong, broken, missing pieces, you want to do that immediately so that you are not in the post December 25th, post Christmas groupings that are going on. You'll have a better chance to, probably just save some cash because I guarantee you the fees go up, are going to definitely be enforced more after the holidays. Okay. Again, we talk about the fraud detection here. It's a big thing. It's out there 100%. Like there's people who intentionally do return fraud where they'll send something different, a lower quality item or just a completely different item that they get their fund back for. And then there's this whole back and forth and stuff that goes on. So just a huge pain. All right. And the biggest thing is going to be about the deadlines. You want to make sure you know your deadlines here. And that's the other piece. So there's returns that are going to happen for the holiday season when you've got your gift return, right? You got your little gift receipt. When you go in here, there's absolutely times that they're going to be looking for, and it's very important. You know those here. Again, links are going to be in the description here. But as an example, let's use Target as one example, and you can see there's a whole group of them there. For their holiday return window, electronics and entertainment items from Target, excluding Apple and Beats, it's a whole different thing there. Purchased between November 1st and December 24th have returns starting December 26th and must be returned by January 24th. But Apple and Beats prepaid unlocked phones must be returned by January 8th. Okay. And that's just familiarize yourself with where, with the actual business that you're going to be going to. One of the things that people struggle with is that they don't plan for where they're going. They don't understand. And I'll tell you this much, folks. Even if you miss the deadline, chances are good if you go in and have a conversation with them, you can find a way to get something. It may just be for store credit, but I wouldn't be too worried about that. Hey, all of a sudden we can't make it. They tend to make it work. Okay. But no, you really need to know your return deadlines. Yeah. It's extremely important. And also understand what those fees are going to be, folks. It's really important. All right. So I've got this article here, which is from, again, talking about the fees that are going to be associated with it. We got Best Buy, Macy's charge for returning holiday gifts. Here's a full list of retailers charging return fees. And what I did is I actually tossed it into Claude, made us a nice little infographic because, man, I'll tell you, sometimes just reading those things out, kind of sleepy. Let's take a look at some cool little, what we got here as far as charts. Okay. So we have this 72% of retailers now charge a return fee, 72%. They're expecting $850 billion in merchandise returns for 2025. Just keep that in mind. And the last thing here is 71% are less likely to shop again after a poor return experience. And this is where companies have had to invest, and they're spending time on this because they have to make sure that they're nailing this return, because it's not so much that they're worried about, I don't want to say this here, protecting and making sure that they can put the item that they're getting back on the shelf. That is a portion of it. They want to be able to recoup some of the cash there. They're more concerned about losing future customers if they have a bad return experience. If you've ever had a bad return experience, I'm one of those guys, you're more likely to be like, man, I don't want to spend any time with these folks. But let's look at these fees and you'll notice this scale. We got some folks way up here and down the line. So this is Marshalls and TJ Maxx. It's $12. $12 per mailed package. Plus, again, it's the highest fee amongst the major retailers right here. And again, this is the mail in. If you go in person, the fee will there's a good possibility the fee's waived. You won't have to deal with that. But if you're going to do online, just understand there's going to be a $12 fee for this thing. Next is going to be Dillard's, Macy's. They're next on the pack here, coming around $10. And again, this has to do with, these are for the online. If you're going in person, it's going to be lower and or waived. And this is really what they're trying to do. If you're going with online services, you are, and you mail something in, you're paying someone to do that work for you. I think that's really what it is. If you go in person, chances are good there's not going to be much of a fee attached. Okay. JCPenney's, J. Crew down to $7.50. Urban Outfitters and Zara, they're down to $5 collectively. So with this, here's the other thing, that tiny little notes here. I just want to make sure I read this to you, and this is what we pulled from the information. Best Buy has a 15% restocking fee on opened electronics. So that's, again, your drones, cameras, lenses, etc., and $45 fee on activatable devices, right? That 45 is going to be on those. That's really where that breaks down. And then Kohl's is 15% restocking fee unless it's the returned item is defective. Okay, so if you get this and it doesn't work, they waive the fee at Kohl's. Again, here's what I would just tell you folks. Do your research ahead of time when you go in, and make sure you understand exactly what the return policy is. Real quick. They don't have to take the stuff back, folks. They have a return policy, and it changes during the holidays, especially with the volume that there's going on, and they have to keep an eye on fraud. So just when you go in, what I always say is the person that's on the other side of the counter, right, doing their job at customer service, they didn't make the policy. They're simply just there to enforce it. That being said, they're a person. So make sure you just treat them respectfully. Don't take it out on them. And let's just see what happens after that, okay? And that's and you'll find you're more apt to get the treatment that you're looking for. Try not to don't be adversarial with the person behind the counter. Again, they're just working their job. You're upset, go on X, let the folks at Best Buy know that you have a problem, okay? So this is the return window here. And again, this is simply just cumulative. And you'll see there's a large number of folks here that have basically by the 26th is kind of where they're at. But at the end of the day, you've got between the 31st, the 24th, and then the 15th. It just kind of varies. But just understand that even if you miss that deadline, you go in with a little bit of, honey and, basically catch more flies with honey, that type of thing. You can probably work it. But again, if you need to return these items, you need to have a plan, okay? Again, some smart strategies to avoid return fees, return in store. Join the loyalty program. That's another one that I think a lot of folks miss over here. A lot of the memberships that you have, again, they talk about Macy's, REI, H&M, they include free return shipping. Okay, so if you have a membership, keep that in mind. They ask there may be that may be an easy way for you to avoid those fees. Again, use the drop-off networks that they have here. Happy Return Containers, UPS stores, Kohl's, any place that happens to have an Amazon drop, you can do it there. Bundle multiple returns. Now, this one I do caution you with, and one of the best known practices on this is if you're going to do a multiple return, you need to make sure you are taking pictures of everything and you have an inventory list and to make sure it's there, because there are people on the other end, and once they unpack them, once it gets there, you're giving up control over that piece. So make sure that you have pictures and everything to back up your claim if you're going to do multiple returns, okay, in one box. You always want to keep the original packaging. This is one where I grew on up with, where my mom was very particular about that, like stay on top of things and, be careful when you're taking stuff apart. We had to do returns through a drop box type thing with JCPenney's back in the day and with Sears. So we needed to have the original packaging, and that hasn't changed. And then act fast. The biggest thing is if you're going to return, don't wait. Get it done and get it out there. Okay. And last thing, I just wanted to be able to show this picture a little bit here. Okay. Percentage of retailers charging fees. Look at that donut. Look at right here. We got this big, huge group here. This is the people that are in the red are actually the percentage that are charging fees versus we're down to 28% do not charge fees that we're going to have on there. Okay. So with that, fees for returns are not going anywhere. They just aren't. You can actually control to some extent what it is that you're actually having for a restocking fee. Okay. We saw some examples, they're all over the place. What I tell folks is be prepared. If you're going to drop something in the mail, you're paying for convenience. Okay. That's my master's degree is in logistics and supply chain management with a specialization in return logistics, right? This whole thing. And it's the system is not designed to receive stuff back. The entire system is designed to get stuff from the manufacturer to you, not the other way around, even through the retailer. So that is, you're doing stuff that isn't, the system isn't designed for, and there's a fee. And if you want to drop something in the mail, understand you're going to pay a cost. If you have the ability to go to the store and return, your chances are good they're going to waive the fee, and it shouldn't be an issue to get back, unless you have some certain things like we talked about with Best Buy, right? Something that's been activated, chances are good that's going to have to be returned to the manufacturer, and that's why you've got that additional fee, right? Because they're going to be having to pay to ship it back. So anyways, folks, just know, just because you want to return something doesn't mean you're going to get the full value back. Be aware, be prepared for the fact that they may say, we don't give cash, we give store credit, right? The businesses, they've made that sale, they're not trying to lose that money. So just understand this is what is going to happen. Understand the return policy. And again, just to stomp this home, ladies and gentlemen, don't take it out on the customer service folks. They're simply there doing their job, trying to enforce things. There's no reason to be mean to them, no reason to take out any anger or frustration you have with, let's say, Target's policy on the person working at Target, okay? So let's make sure we're being good, okay? Let's manage our emotions, all right? So with that, folks, again, hopefully everybody's going to have a great holiday. My hope is that all of you, the gifts that you gift are going to be amazing, exactly what you're looking for, and you don't have to go through the return process, okay? So with that, hopefully I earned your subscription today. Take care. We'll see you next time.